Before we talk about where we are, we must first remember from whence we came. Marty Schottenheimer brought winning football back to Kansas City and built what is now known as Chiefs Kingdom.
We transitioned from a team built on its defense in the 90s to one of the most dominant offenses and return men in NFL history, led by Dick Vermeil.
In 2012, a 2-14 Chiefs team displayed disastrous play on the field and turmoil off it. We asked to save our Chiefs, and in came Andy Reid, who immediately turned this franchise into a perennial playoff team.
Then, on April 27, 2017, the Chiefs broke free from their journeyman quarterback restraints and drafted Patrick LeVon Mahomes.
In 6 years with Patrick at the helm, we're back-to-back champs and a dynasty headed towards a three-peat. We are unrelenting for this city, these players, and this team. This is the show for the allies. Arrowhead Allies.
And welcome, everyone. The summer months are upon us, and you are live with Arrowhead Allies for the next hour. Buckle up for the best hour of Chiefs action that you'll hear anywhere in the United States of America. Welcome. And the stars are all here, and the stars have aligned. It may be the offseason for the Kansas City Chiefs, but not for Starcade Media, not for the Arrowhead Allies. We're going to be talking with former Chief Reggie Tongue here in just a little bit, and we're just marinating on some of the offseason goings-on. We're heading towards June. We're heading towards the summer months, and living is anything but easy here in Kansas City right now, fellas.
Amen to that. It's hot. We just got off Memorial Day weekend where we had the wind come blowing in Saturday night. Had to pick up a whole bunch of branches and cut up branches and burn branches. Sunday, making up for that windstorm that came in. How'd the wind affect your neighborhood, Brother Brian?
Oh man, it looked like the Wizard of Oz when I got back here. I was in St. Louis for Memorial Day weekend, but yeah, Toto and Dorothy was swinging all over the place around here. I see. Talk about the summer being here and the summer months in the hey, I'm a summer baby. Sign me up. I'm here for 100 degree weather every day, all day, sunny outside, ice cold on the inside. That's how I like it. And like Chris Brown says, summer too hot. Shout out to all the summer babies. Leo season is on the way, baby.
Still got a couple months, but we're looking forward to that.
I hate that everything I feel like Brian and I will always initially disagree on. I hate this. Like I love this guy, but here we are disagreeing at the very top of the show. If it isn't looking like Winterfell out there, or Game of Thrones, I'm not happy. It needs to be bitter. It needs to be cold. It needs to be like a Tim Burton movie. That's when I'm in my mood, because that also means that we got football going on. So that's the other thing I have to think about. If it's bitter outside, that means it's going to be bitter. It's going to be beautiful on my TV. And that's when I get happy, fellas. And that's why I don't like where I'm at right now. Because last night I just walked outside a minute ago and I just saw the devil walking by in some swimming trunks. So I know it's too damn hot right now for me. I'm going to stay my ass in this house. And that's what I'm going to do. So I might as well talk football with you guys.
Absolutely, Lance. I'm with you. I like the spring. Weather-wise, fall, I'll take all the weather, even when it gets bitter cold. But weather-wise, I'm 55 is kind of my wheelhouse of any hotter than that. It starts hitting the 60s, and I start sweating, and I'm not happy, guys. I'm not a happy camper. Give me the 50s.
I don't even want my low to be 55.
Yeah, with you. No other of these beautiful states, and let me just name off a few for you. Are you familiar with Minnesota, Michigan, Wisconsin?
I love those, yes.
Okay, South Dakota, North Dakota. How about this one? Canada. But enough about the weather. That's small talk for reasons we don't even need. We are welcoming currently to the show former Kansas City Chief. He was drafted here in 1996, played until 1999. In fact, he was my defensive backs coach at the Derek Thomas football camp in 1998. Reggie, you'll probably remember this. You coached me up. Joe Horn was my receivers coach, and then you were my defensive backs coach. The question is, why am I not just coming off a 10-year NFL career after all that tutelage I got from you in 1998?
Hey, talent only goes so far, bro.
Well, welcome to the show, man. How's everything going? How was your Memorial weekend, sir?
It was good. I was outside and did some weeding, me and my boys. pulled some weeds out of the rocks, and I weed eated one side of the house. Took about 2 hours in the sun. So yeah, it was a great day.
I was doing some weeding myself, Reggie. Man, thank you for I was outside with it too. Thank you for joining us right here on Arrowhead Allies. Man, so I've always wanted to be in the huddle on some of them 90s Chiefs defenses that you were part of, especially that 97 team, man. What was kind of the philosophy? What was some of the top 3 things that Marty and Gunther wanted you guys to really get a hold of and to attack with on that defense?
We had a lot of guys that were really accountable. You know what I mean? Like everyone made no excuses per se. You know what I mean? Like it was I'm really grateful to be drafted by Kansas City when I first came in, because it was a team of guys that were just accountable. You have James Hasty on one side, then you had Dale on the other side, and you had Mark Collins when I first got there, Will White, Brian Washington, and Derek Thomas was my locker mate. He was locker next to me. So the philosophy was to just do your part. You know what I mean? It was that simple. Do your part, and if your brother, if he didn't do his part, then do yours and his part if you could. But it was really more about just being accountable and just being there for each other. So if I was out of place or out of a spot, they would come up and let me know I was out of place, and here's where you fit. Next time you need to fit here, and if you don't, then everything breaks down. So we kind of understood that we were all a part of a system, and everybody had to just simply do their part and be accountable. And if you didn't do your part, be man enough and say, that was my fault. I effed that up. I'm going to fix it. And then, you didn't get too many chances to fix it. So you need to come back and fix it as soon as fast as you can, basically.
Film
Reggie,
don't lie.
I appreciate you joining us, Reggie. It's an honor. I was a season ticket holder throughout your entire tenure as a Kansas City Chiefs player. And,
cool.
I remember when you came into the league as a second-round draft pick out of at Oregon State, Jerome Woods was the number 1 draft pick. He was a safety, and you were the other safety. Right. You and Jerome both spent your entire rookie seasons in 1996 playing exclusively on special teams, backing up Brian Washington and Mark Collins.
Yeah.
And then in 1997, Mark Collins and Brian Washington were let go, and you and Jerome Woods, you took over. That 1997 defense was about probably the best, ever. I had to put that up against any defense throughout history today. But my point is, your rookie season, what did you learn in 1996 while watching Brian Washington and Mark Collins handle the safety position? What did you and Jerome learn?
Jerome, everybody really, I'm not trying to toot my own horn or anything, but I was just a really good athlete, right? So when I first got to Kansas City, coming from Oregon State, you guys probably not going to believe this, but I didn't know what cover 2 was. I didn't know what cover 4 was, right? I didn't know blitz zones. I just knew man. I knew cover 3, and I knew man under. That was about it. That's all we ran at Oregon State because we didn't have a lot of talent. So the coach was like, hey, we're going to blitz every down, and it is what it is. So we basically blitzed just about 80, 90% of the time. We blitzed, and I played man, or we played zone or man under. So Brian Washington, Mark Collins, and Will White taught me, and Kurt Schottenheimer taught me how to play cover 4, taught me how to play cover 2, how to play blitz zones. And I guess it was a blessing in disguise because I didn't know it. So I had to really keep it simple in my head. I couldn't think outside of my job. You know what I mean? I have first vertical, if it's run and run away from me, I have the C gap. You know what I mean? I had to just compartmentalize everything. And Mark and Brian and Will and James Hasty, actually, and Kurt Schottenheimer, they would keep me after practice and show me how to play double posts coming across the middle. Didn't know how to play it. You know what I mean? I'm a safety, but in the middle of the field, I knew, okay, I have the middle of the field, but I didn't know we could make plays on the sideline also, and Jerome actually showed me how to do that. So I was basically being babysat by everybody on the defense. And it was luckily I went to the Kansas City where guys were more like family than like teammates. They were actually like, hey, this is how you do it. Even though they knew that I was coming to take their job, and they still would teach me how to do it. So I kind of learned from a great group of guys and learned to kind of share that knowledge and to not be, not have like a lack mentality, right? Because their mentality was there's enough to go around for everybody. So you make more plays, then I'm making more plays, and iron sharpens iron. So that was kind of I don't know if I answered your question.
You did. Yeah, you did.
But yeah, that's kind of
cool.
how my career started. Yeah, I don't even like saying that to people, but it's the truth. I really didn't know how to play cover 4 or cover 2. It was really French to me. Not cool. French, but
foreign.
Yeah,
something close. Italian, French, one of those two. Reggie, my name's Lance, and let me say first of all, man, I'm a '90s kid. I grew up watching you play, and it's an honor to talk to you tonight. I've had the fortune of getting to know some players I grew up watching, Jason Dunn, guys like that from the late '90s, early 2000s, and something I always like to talk about because I know that you're a safety, so you probably pay attention a lot to that. I talk to Jason Dunn. I'm always talking about tight end play or receivers and things of that nature because I'm always trying to pick their brain. Something I always respected about your game in particular is that you were always on the field. You talked about, and I think you have a right to talk about it, man, because it earned your way into the NFL for a long time. Is how great of an athlete you were. You were also a very durable athlete. Before your final season, it says right here, man, you missed I think 3 games in your entire career. And I don't even know if all those had to do with injury. I mean, it could have been a bye week here and there because you played for some playoff teams.
Right.
And that's going to be the point I'm going to make here real quick. But I do want to add this. Being a young football fan, being a young Chiefs fan, you find yourself falling in love with certain parts of the game before you even know it. And one of the things that I remember being a kid in the 90s that I fell in love with on the defense side, because, the offense is always going to get the attention because they're the ones that score the majority of the touchdowns and things like that. Yeah. So the players or kids initially fall in love with the offensive guys. But what I fell in love with on the defensive side was the fact that I always noticed the guys that don't get the ball, but they're always around it. And that was who you were. That's who you were. You were that guy that was always around the ball. Yeah. And that was something that always drew me. I always saw 25 wherever the play was even if you didn't make the play. That's right. 25 was right there. And so I always paid attention to how you played the game. And it's something I very much respect. And just, full disclosure, not that I was some great football player, but the first position I ever played was strong safety as a kid because I wanted to be like Reggie Tongue. I've never played that before. The point is, man, is that you had a lot of opportunities in your career. Obviously, the next season, as Shane brought up, you didn't play as much in your first season. The second season, it became a very pivotal season, 13-3. This team is touted as a Super Bowl contender. Obviously, we knew that team fell short of what I think a lot of you guys were expecting to do, which was to get to that Super Bowl, win that Super Bowl. Then you had a couple other teams later on in your career where it looked like those were some really good teams, made the playoffs, things of that nature. Being a confident player and having confident teammates around you, you're always going to feel like you got a shot. But, deep down there's sometimes you're like, no, we really got a shot this year. Can you give me some specifics of those years, man, and the differences of how the morale goes for a team like that where like we got a real shot here, or those teams are like, man, I'm going to have to just power through this year, man, and just kind of get to next season and hope for the best. Can you just kind of get me into the mind of that? Because that's something I'm always fascinated when it comes to the leadership mentality, when it comes to not giving up, when it comes to, man, this year was easy because we were winning everything and it just felt so right. Just kind of tap into that a little bit, man.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot. That's a great question. It really ties down to not only like the character of the player you are, but more so like the character of the person you are. There were some teams where, like, when I first went to Seattle, right, we weren't very good. on defense. I personally wasn't. I personally was at a really good spot, I thought, as a player. Like my reads were coming real easy. It was like the 4th year in my league. I had, Hasty and Dale and Kurt in my ear and Jerome in my ear for 4 years, so they really taught me. They made the game really easy for me. And I was in the system. I understood it. So when I first went to Seattle, I was really on top of my game at the time. I was a little pissed off that I didn't get paid as much as I wanted to. So I was like, I had to kind of make a point to the league, like, hey, all of you guys, this is what you missed, And when I first got there, not to bad talking to your coaches, but it was a difference in coaching when I first got there. And so I can't believe I just forgot his name.
Mike Holmgren.
Holmgren. There you go. Holmgren. He's a great coach, great mind, very offensive oriented more so, but he knows defense also. But the defensive staff, it was tough, and it was a new system for me also. So we weren't playing the same. It's okay, dude. You're fine. We weren't playing. That's my boy. He just ran by. We weren't playing as well as we could have, and we were. It wasn't the same atmosphere when I first got there. Guys were, more selfish. Basically, it wasn't. I'm going to share information with you, even though you're backing me up and could take my job next week. Like it was more like I'm not sharing this information with you because you might take my job. It was a different atmosphere, totally different when I first got there.
Let me keep what I got.
Let me keep what I got. Right, most guys, not all the guys, but there was some guys over there. Whereas in Kansas City, nobody was like that because that just didn't fit in the culture. And if you were like that, you got outcasted, basically. Like, hey, man, we're not about that over here. Derek stood up in the locker room and James and would stand up in the locker room and be like, hey, Reggie, we don't play like that here. We don't do that here. It was just a different field. So it was easier there. And that's the way I learned how to play in the league. So I personally just took it upon myself to just be the best that I could. Right. And so when I'm on the field, I'm here to have the back of everybody that I'm here to play. I'm here to play with you guys, and I have your back, and I want you to know that. I don't want to just say that to you. I want you to see it, right? So getting our asses kicked, whether we're winning a lot of games or we're getting our asses kicked, I just wanted you to know that I'm here for you regardless. And over time, eventually, that energy will catch on. I'm not a real big guy of getting in, standing up in front of teams and giving speeches. I've always been taught to kind of do it by example. Yeah. And that's helped me out sometimes, and sometimes it hasn't helped me out. Different coaches, like when Ray Rhodes got there, he likes the guys that like to stand up and be a little wild and crazy. That just wasn't me. So me and Ray butted heads. Mm-hmm. But don't get it twisted. I'm a nice guy, but I'm not a pushover either.
Right.
So my mentality was more so we're all here to do a job. Let's do it to the best of our abilities. And I can't control what you're going to do on your play and what you're going to do on this play. I just want you to know that I'm going to be here for you regardless. So however that turns out, then that's what it turns out. And then, when we were playing Oakland, I remember playing Oakland one year, and we were in Oakland, right? They're like Las Vegas now, but
right.
The Raiders, right? So we were playing the Raiders, and we were getting blown out by like 20 something, right? And the coach, Schottenheimer, he's like taking us out of the game and putting in the backup guys. And the first guy to come off the field was Chad. The first guy that was supposed to come off the field was Chad. I'm sorry, we were with Seattle. I'm with Seattle. I'm confusing teams. Chad Brown, they went to sub Chad Brown out of the game because at Kansas City we always beat Oakland, right? So, but
exactly.
At Seattle, and when I'm at Seattle, they're killing us like we're down by 20 something, right? So they're subbing us out of the game, and Chad was the first guy to go, Chad Brown. So somebody comes in to sub him out, and he's like, "Nah, I'm not coming out." And he sends the younger guy back. And I'm like, what's going on? He's like, I'm not coming out. I'm like, oh, okay. So then they send in somebody for me. And then I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm not coming out. And so then they call timeout and bring the whole defense over to the sidelines. Like, guys, you guys got to come out of the game. And then, Chad is like, hey, we started this. We're finishing it. You know what I mean? We started this ass kicking. We're going to finish it. So I got to be embarrassed or not. Now, Sean Springs, he ran out the game. He came out the game. No problem.
I love Sean.
I love Sean too. Sean's my boy. But he's a different mentality, right? Look,
yeah.
You want? Oh, here I come. Okay, no problem. And so, that type of mentality doesn't just like come and go, right? I mean, you either that's a part of you or it's not a part of you, right? So we were out there getting our asses kicked. So we're like, look, I'm not gonna let the young guys come out here and just finish this off for us. Like, no, we're gonna take it. Like, get down on a knee, put your head over, and it's kind of like the samurai spirit. I'm spiritual, and I'm also really into philosophy and Bruce Lee and all that. So more like the samurai way. You know what I mean? If I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do it one way. If I gotta die on a sword, then that's just how it's got to be. So some people have that mentality and some people don't. Team-wise, guys in Seattle, Chad Brown for one of them, he was that way. And I don't want to leave anybody out.
Cortez Kennedy.
Cortez, yes. Cortez, you can't forget about Cortez. He was that way. And when John Randall came there later on, he was that way, and so that has to like trigger you. If it doesn't, then I don't know. I don't know what to say. I mean, I'm not saying you're less a man or anything, but that has to be a part of you. You have to have some of that in you to be able to go through, seasons that we had at Seattle, which weren't very good, but because there's something in people like Chad, people like John Randall, Cortez, I feed off of that because that touches something deep inside of me that you can't be taught. It doesn't come from it. It came from my grandmother because I always say it comes from my grandmother because that's where my genes started. So, it's just something that you walk around with, man, and it just different situations kind of bring it out. So especially in college, I won 10 games in 5 years in college. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't even like talking about that either, but it is what it is, So throughout the years, I've just learned to find the positive in everything.
Amen to that.
And the only thing that I can control is what I can control, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm on the field, whether we're getting our ass kicked or whether we're up by 30, it's the only thing that I can control is the way I play. So you can try to throw it deep if you want because you're trying to run the score up. And like in college, we were the doormat of the Pac-12, Pac-10 at the time. So nobody respected us. And it would piss me off. It would piss me off so bad I would cry sometimes because I would be running down on kickoff so pissed off. When you're a kid about to get in a fight with your neighbor, right? And then somebody comes and breaks it up. What do you do? You just start crying, right? For no reason. Start crying.
Still happens to this day for me.
right. We're still human, right? I know we don't like to say we cry, but I cry all the time. Right. And so I don't consider myself emotional, but it's just you care, right? I mean, you care that much, and your body gets worked up that much to where something's got to give, and it usually comes out in tears. But yeah, I just always kind of developed that mentality at Oregon State because we always got our ass kicked. So it was just about respect for me. I just wanted them, whoever I'm playing against, whoever I'm competing against, at the end of the day, they respect the number 25. That's all I really heard.
Well said, man.
100%. And we've got a fan question here. I'm going to add on to it a little bit. Biggest memory from your days being coached by the late, great Marty Schottenheimer. Not just that, but his speeches and how detailed he was, how he could go to any position group on the field and coach them up. He knew it front to back, offense, defense. I know he was more of a defensive guy because he played linebacker in the league. But talk about some great memories of Marty Schottenheimer, his detailed, oriented style on the field, his speeches, and if you think he's Hall of Fame worthy one day.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I know Marty gets a bad rap because of the playoff deal, and as a veteran, he was tough to be around because we would be hitting in pads week 13, week 14. You know what I mean? So, but he really was the kind of the spark of that accountability that I was talking about. Night before and he really showed it, right? He wouldn't just say it. Night before games, we didn't stay in a hotel, right? Because he was like, look, if you can't handle your business, you don't need to be here.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody stays in a hotel nowadays. You got the internet, you got social media. So somebody's gonna get in trouble if you don't do that. But with him, he was like, you're a grown ass man. You signed a contract with us, handle your business. That was just how Marty was. And he coached that way. You're a grown man. If you can't do this, we're about to find out. So Kurt Schottenheimer wanted him to start me and Jerome. Marty was like, there's no way. There's no way we're starting two safeties that have a year experience in the league, And God dang it, who was it? It was an older guy that was with us at the time, but he got injured. He was a strong safety.
David Whitmore?
Nah, he was a safety before us. I think he played with Cherry and them. God dang, I got his face.
Martin Bayless?
Not Martin Bayless. It was a shorter guy.
Oh,
Floyd Burris?
No, God dang it.
I'll get it. We'll get it.
Yeah. So, anyways, he was a safety. He was in front of me, and he ended up getting injured. And so I ended up starting. And, Marty was like, okay, fine. We brought him here for a reason. Put him in the game. Let's play him. So if Marty wasn't there, I may not have started when I started. Because, guys, they weren't ready to put younger guys in positions like that, especially there was Jerome. But he was their first rounder, so he kind of gets treated, not want to say treated better, but you know how it goes. You get picked in the first round, and Jerome is a monster. So
wasn't like Kevin Ross, was it?
Say again.
Kevin Ross.
Kevin Ross. That's who it was.
He came back in '97. You're right.
That's right. That's the one. Yeah. Back for that.
Kevin Ross. He got hurt, and when he got injured, I thought they were going to move Bayless or somebody back there, but Marty was like, "No, we brought him here. We brought him for a reason. Put him out there and let him see what he can do." So, if Kurt didn't fight for me for so much and talk Marty into it, I probably wouldn't have played as early as I would not have played as early as I did. But his whole philosophy was to be accountable, and he played. He was a defensive coach. I mean, he loved his defense, and you could tell by the way he ran his offense. It was pound, 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 play action, throw it. Pound, pound, play action. So he was. What I do remember is just his I would say trust. His trust in us to do the right thing, and that wasn't just on the field. That was Saturday nights before the game. He was like, "Hey, I'm gonna leave this up to you. Something happens, it's on you. So I'm just letting you know if you do something that you're not supposed to, you're gonna let this whole team down, and I'm probably gonna cut you." So.
And you mentioned the 97, like you mentioned kind of Marty's playoff time, and I want to talk about the 97 playoff game against the Broncos. Do you think some of his playoff woes were because he played it safe on offense and relied so much on his defense? What did you guys kind of make of how that 97 game played out, especially with him going back to Elvis Gerback instead of Rich Gannon?
I mean, yeah, man, I love Elvis. I love Rich. I'll tell you this, and you guys already know this. I mean, everybody on the team wanted Rich.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Everybody I mean, we almost had like
The fans wanted Rich.
Yes.
We were with
Yeah.
you. All right, we were with you guys.
right. I mean, we almost had like a revolt in the locker room over it, right? It wasn't like nobody fighting each other or anything, but it was known, Elvis knew that we all wanted Rich in the game. You know what I mean? And so it was no secret. Everybody spoke about it. I mean, Rich had to get up in the team meeting and get in front of the team and say, listen, he's our guy. He's who we're going with. So I'll be ready if I'm needed. But Elvis is our guy. Like basically, had to talk us into being okay with Elvis playing, And then we still, after he sat down, we're like, no, man, that's bullshit. We're not. Like in front of Elvis, sit your ass down.
Was Elvis hearing all this?
Okay. You can say what you want,
Yeah.
So, yeah, that I wouldn't say. I would say that, it's so hard, to go back and be like, hey, should have did this, should have did that, But we definitely should have went to the play. We definitely should have went to the playoffs that year, and Elvis should have been playing. So if he plays, it's probably a different game, no doubt, in my mind.
Yeah.
But it is what it is, just wasn't meant to happen. So.
Yeah.
I mean, did Elvis hear all this? Were you guys did he hear some of the backlash? Was that all in that same meeting? Were you guys like, what? Come on, this is bullshit. Was Elvis there when you guys were saying this?
Yeah, he was there for sure. He was right there.
So do you think that played into his mentality during the game? Like, these guys don't want me out here. Like, I don't know.
No. I mean, we're all professionals, man. We gotta, some people don't like you. You got to go out and do your job. And I just think, it was a deal where it's like at the beginning of this conversation, I was telling you, only talent goes so far, right? Only talent take you so far. Like you have to have like some dog in you. Like you have to have certain things in you that you can't teach. And Elvis, we would be in practice, and Rich, so we would mess with Elvis in practice. Like he would be expecting the safeties to rotate this way, and then I was on scout team a few times, and we would just mess with them, right? We would rotate the other way, and it was supposed to be cover 2. We would change the defense to cover 3, whatever. We messed the whole script up, and he hated it. And so
Couldn't go on the fly, like you changed it
right.
on.
But he hated it in the sense that it wouldn't, they wouldn't be successful on offense. Whereas when we were out there with Rich, and somebody would get a pick, or like we would dance in the end zone, like Dale was famous for this. Like he would make a play, and then he would start doing this little. At the time, it was
The bankhead bounce.
Cash money. It was cash money in there. It ain't my fault.
There's no limit.
Right, no limit. There you go.
No limit, yeah.
And so he would get a pick, and he'd start dancing in the end zone. It ain't my fault. And then we would all get around him and do the same thing, right? But when Rich was at quarterback, he would get pissed when we did that, right?
And get that dog in him, man.
Exactly. So he would be like that. It would be like the last play of practice. Rich would be like, no. We're not stopping on that. You know what I mean? Like we're not stopping on that. And then we'd have to stop, and he'd have to wait till the next day. And then the next day, he'd score in the red zone or whatever, and he'd let us know that he remembered that. Like, it ain't your fault. It's your fault today. Reggie, it's your fault today. He was dead serious about it. You know what I mean? That's what Rich was.
Yeah.
Whereas Elvis was, he would just, look, I love Elvis. All right. We're cool. I would say this if he was sitting right next to me, but it is what it is. He didn't have that in him. He wouldn't react that way. He would get mad and upset, but he'd walk off and be done with it. Rich, it would bother him until the next week. If that was Friday, it would bother him all the way till Wednesday, till we practiced again,
Man.
So, I mean, that's just the difference in the two, and it showed on the field, and we gravitated towards it.
Yeah, and you talked about that kind of earlier when you talked about the different mentalities between teams and stuff. Before we get you out of here, Reggie, you've been so gracious with your time. You can talk over these. These are your highlights, my friend. So kind of take us through a couple of these plays. You've seen one before that we kind of tagged you in there, but Here's Chester McLaughlin picking off Peyton Manning, and then
Yeah.
throws it behind his back and
Yeah.
John's on the spot.
But see, we were tight though. You know what I mean? So the guys knew. They knew Chester, Donnie, Donnie too. Donnie knew like if I were anywhere in the picture, just go ahead and toss it, bro. You know what I mean? We talk about it. We would talk about it before the game. We would see the Ravens doing it, seeing everybody else doing it. So, if I were in the picture, or if James or Hasty, or not Hasty, if Dale or Jerome, if we're near you, just know we want to score. We're not just out there to just tackle people. We want to score too,
Yeah.
And so if we were near them, they knew to kind of just toss it up, and we would go get it. That was
Some
kind
great
of
memories.
You had 4 touchdowns in your career.
Yeah. I wish I could have did a little more with that, but yeah, didn't.
Well, some great memories. Tremendous career, whether it be here, even in New York, Seattle. We don't bring up that Oakland year. That doesn't count. We're just erasing that. And you were just such a staple here, and we appreciate you joining us and taking some time, man. So,
Hey,
the
man,
current
listen.
Chiefs are pretty good too. So we I guess we could leave you with that. A couple Super Bowls later, we're riding high here in Kansas City now.
Yeah, look at but I know Al isn't here anymore, and I kind of when I was my last game, I got hurt. I tore my knee up the last game there, but I will say this, like, playing against Kansas City, we hate Oakland, right? But when I went there, he was actually really cool. You know what I mean? Especially like to the players. He loves his players. I've never been treated better. I don't know. I got to be careful with my words here.
That's all good.
I was treated really well by him. Now, I said the wrong thing to him. Like we were about to get on the bus, and he was sitting out there, and he was like, "Hey man, I've been trying to get you over here for the last couple of years. It just didn't work out." And I'm like, yeah, it's cool, And then he goes, I'm sorry, we're losing a lot right now, so I'm sorry about that, but we're gonna fix it. And I'm like, yeah, man, what do you do? And then he goes, he stops, he looks at me, he's like, what do you do? You fucking fix it. That's what you do. So I was like, just immediately I was like, okay, that wasn't, I didn't mean it that way.
I'm not the GM. You fix it.
Right. I meant, you fix it, right?
It's rhetorical.
We're gonna fix this, right? I'm here to help you fix this, but it was too late. It was already too late. Now I was like, okay, now I know probably not gonna be there next.
That's it.
Yeah. But I will say that since I've retired and all, and since he's passed, they have been like the one team to like reach out and be like, hey, happy birthday, happy new year. When you want to come down and visit, we can give you a tour. Like I know you probably don't want to hear that, but they have been like really keeping in touch with like all their former guys.
Yeah,
all their alumni
the Chiefs
guys.
are notoriously terrible at this.
The Chiefs
are
are great.
notoriously
You're a
terrible.
Chiefs ambassador.
I played there for 4 games, guys. I played there 4 games, and they treat me like I am an Oakland Hall of Famer. They really
4
do.
years in KC, and the Chiefs are notorious about this.
James Hasty said the same thing, that they haven't reached out to him at all or anything, and they make him pay for tickets and all this stuff. So I don't know.
It's crazy.
I just went to the equipment guy. So I raced RC cars, right? And
Alex Wright.
Yeah, one of the equipment guys came to a race. He was in Las Vegas, and one of the equipment guys, when I was in Oakland, he recognized me at the RC race and was like, "Hey, it's me, it's Bill. Blah, blah. You guys should come by. I'll give you a tour of the stadium. Blah blah blah." So we came by, toured the stadium. He gave us a bunch of clothes, bunch of Raiders stuff, and all that. It's crazy. So I have a different outlook on the Raiders now than I've been there, but.
Well, we give a shit about you here at Starcade, all right? That's
Reggie,
Absolutely.
thank you so
You're
much,
welcome
man.
anytime. Please come back on the show sometime, Reggie. We love
thank you so much, Reggie.
Yeah, for sure.
April 11th, we'll say happy birthday.
Yeah, I bet. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, man. That
Always
was
an honor.
pleasure.
Thanks, Reggie.
Thank you.
Yep.
Reggie Tongue, my defensive backs coach at the Derek Thomas football camp in 1998. Receivers coach, you're probably wondering? Joe Horn, I was under good tutelage. So the question is, why am I not finishing up a 10-year NFL career here a few years ago? It was not to be, gentlemen. I'm sorry, but here we
Lance,
are.
You made fun of me for saying Alex Wright, and I did that because it is Alan Wright, the equipment manager. Alex Wright, because we have a new intern here at Starcade Media named Alex, and Clint
Alex Wright, the wrestler.
WCW, so Alex Wright, the wrestler, we got a little dancing for Alex Wright.
Does Wonderkind.
Well, I get a feeling we could have talked to Reggie till midnight.
I got that feeling as well, Shane, which is why we only all got one question each. I mean, usually we try to go around the horn twice, but we got some good substance there. That's what matters. And, it's stuff like that in the off season to really revisit some of these players. I mean, Lance, you said it, we've all talked about it so many times about those 90s teams really laying the foundation. I don't think any of us would be here right now talking about this team in 2024 if not for those 90s teams. I know I wouldn't. So,
amen.
Yeah, for sure. And the new players of this new generation.
Let's go.
Hosting a Kansas City charity softball game at Legends Field Thursday, June 6th. Get your tickets at kansascitycharitysoftball.com. So we want to make sure that everybody gets over there. You can see all their socials there as well, whether it's Kansas City Monarchs, Team Lammy, or Kansas City Charity Softball on Instagram. So make sure you hit them up, go buy some tickets, and come out. It's a great time. Patrick Mahomes was there last year, and obviously it's hosted with Justin Reed and Trey Smith this year as MVS has moved on. He was the host last year. He's moved on to greener pastures.
No.
What other color is there for a disaster of a decision by the Buffalo Bills?
Well, I'll tell you, this event is amazing.
You guys will be covering that, won't you?
Well, we should be. It's a yes. We'll say
fluid
yes
situation, as they say in the business.
Fluid. But let me tell you, it is. Last year was so much fun. The way they put on this softball game, the fans, the interaction with the players. They're going to announce a bunch of players they're going to be playing this week. We anticipate it to be a large portion of the roster like it was last year, and the access was tremendous. I'll tell you what, they have that big slick here every year. Forget it. I'm never going back again. That thing's overbloated, overhyped. This is my event right here. Kansas City Charity Softball. .com. You can get the information. They got VIP tickets where you can get like meet and greets beforehand. Go to this thing.
Get on the field they have different packages for different tickets that gives you different availability to the players, to the field, to different spots. There's a lot of former players there. I think Stephon Page was there last year, signing autographs before. So they bring back some former Chiefs that you'll see there. You can get autographs. So it's a great event. We suggest that you all go to kansascitycharitysoftball.com to purchase some tickets.
And Brian, for you, every buzzword about community and all that stuff,
Kansas City
is all involved, baby.
You know it. That's one of my purposes. So anything for the town, I'm with.
Well, it's great. That's what the summer months have. We got this fun stuff before things get really going, Noah. I mean,
you're right. Before things get going, before we get to real games, and Shane can give us his great predictions that predict all the intricacies of the game. And I asked myself, where does Shane get this from?
Yeah.
And I think I found an old clip where he might have got it from. Shane, you grew up watching Chris Berman, and he gave his Ravens-Giants Super Bowl prediction back in 2000. And I think you might have got a little from him.
I think the Giants parlay 2 safeties, a touchdown, and then they fumbled the kick, but they converted for a 2-point conversion. Final score, Giants 12, Ravens 11.
So, Shane.
What's up?
Is that where you get it from?
No, I won't steal any of Chris Berman's thunder, even though he probably should have retired 10 years ago.
But, I mean, technically he did. They keep bringing him back.
Right.
Yeah. No, I reach deep and I just think about how the game's going to flow, especially the playoff games. Those are the games you want to really pinpoint. Like last year, week 1, I couldn't pinpoint Kadarius Toney dropping so many footballs, but you have to think big picture when you're thinking of 4 quarters of a football game. But I'm flattered that you did compare me to him, Noah. Thank you very much.
Yes, the great Chris Berman. Boomer and Shaggy, both great nicknames, both great guys at giving predictions of games and the intricacies, whether it's Chris Jones picking up a fumble with 2:22 left to go and taking it back to the 7-yard line, and then Clyde Edwards-Helaire punches it in. We love it here, Shane. Keep it coming. But Lance, I know you love talking heads, and we got a lot of talking heads here saying a lot of crazy things. Michael Robinson, the Chiefs are starting 2-4 with losses to the Ravens, Bengals, Chargers, and Niners.
It begins.
So This is the thing about Michael Robinson in particular, man. I think this guy is a very, everyone has like their favorite number.
Loser.
Some people, some people have their favorite number. I think some people have their favorite letter, and I think his is the L because he loves getting L's, not just from the Chiefs, but from my montages that I put together every single year at the end of the season when the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. Him and guys like Jason McIntyre. Obviously, you have your easy ones, your low-hanging fruits like Skip Bayless. But Michael Robinson has really put himself out there in this one, man, because at first he was attaching himself exclusively to the Bills and Bills Mafia stand-up and all that stuff. Now it's just single, exclusive, dumb takes like this. And here's my thing. I'm not opposed to somebody having a take about the Chiefs starting off slow because they have had some slow starts out the gate. A couple of years here and there over the last 5 years. That's not something that is out of the realm of possibility. But you're not giving me reasons as to why. You're just saying it, and you're just because you know what you're getting out of it. You're getting of our reactions, and that's what's funny about us is when they get the reaction, they want to fire back at the fan as if the fan is the one that asked them to do it in the beginning. You're the one that is a paid professional to have this platform. You got to take it seriously. And at some point, man, you got to give us context as to why you believe the things you believe. Otherwise, you get put in the same category as all these other hot take artists, and you don't get taken seriously anymore. And I want to see people on these stages that can be taken seriously, not just somebody that says something that just we all revolt against, man. I want somebody to say, hey, listen, I think the Chiefs are going to start 2-4, and here's the reason why. Because I think the Ravens this, and I think the Bengals that, and I think this and that. No, they don't break it down. They just say, "Oh yeah, it's gonna be a slow start." The Chiefs. There's no reason why. It's just gonna be slow. It's just gonna be this. And that's my problem. Go ahead, Brian.
You want to know why he can't give you a reason? You want to know why? It's May 28th. It's May.
This is why we shouldn't do predictions at this time of the year.
Exactly.
And now to our predictions here on Arrowhead Allies for the season. But Brian, we do have another one. We got Bucky Brooks, former Chief, with some friendly fire here. The Chargers are the biggest
with us
threat
for
to the
45
Chiefs.
seconds.
Well, those 45 seconds count, or at least I thought they did. Apparently they don't. We've seen Jim Harbaugh do this over and over again. He's going to make the Chiefs the villain. He's going to build a team that can knock them off slowly, but surely the Chargers are going to knock them off. What you talking about, Bucky?
Well, I halfway agree with him on this one. I think
Brian, that's
not particularly this year. I'm not sure if the Chargers can really to compete with the Chiefs on a high level this year. But man, he's done it everywhere he's gone. It's true. Look at his track record. He's a damn good coach. He's been a good coach his entire career, to be honest with you. And he knows how to build from the ground up. That's one thing about Harbaugh. I heard a report today that there were rumors about on draft night, Justin Jefferson, the Vikings trying to trade Justin Jefferson to the Chargers, and Jim Harbaugh wasn't having none of it. Of course, with the contract that Justin Jefferson would demand in such a trade and what the Vikings will want in that trade, it's too much to give up. And what does he do? He goes and gets a left tackle, a franchise left tackle. So look, man, he knows what he's doing this year in terms of the draft. I think the Chargers will look back and be like, man, that 2024 draft for the Chargers was incredible because he had so much intel on every single player that was coming out. From all the way from that when they were in high school, he had intel on all of these players. So he had a sense of information that perhaps all the other NFL teams didn't have. So look, man, we're just gonna have to deal with it. This is the price of being the Chiefs. This is the price of being the best in the league. This is the price of having the face of the league on your team, and we're kind of being obnoxious with it this off season.
Gentlemen. I'm sorry, Brian.
No,
what I want to say is they drafted Joe Alt, Ladd McConkey, and Brendan Rice, studs. If we would have drafted Joe Alt, if we would have drafted Ladd McConkey, and if we would have drafted Brendan Rice, we would have been on cloud freaking 9. So I'm echoing your sentiments, Brian. What they did in the draft was impressive. They're going to look back. I don't know what the Chargers are going to do in 2024, and we're going to break that down in September when we do our prediction show, or early September, late August. But just those 3 picks, those 3 picks are with Justin Herbert, you can build around.
And that's what, but see, that's the reason why I think that if Harbaugh's going to succeed in LA, it has to be immediately, because of the fact that he got to scout these players, these next 2 drafts, better than any coach in the NFL right now. He got to scout these guys over the last 4 or 5 years. So he has an understanding of how to build a team quick and to build it cheap. If he doesn't do it within the next 2 to 3 years, guys, it's never going to happen. And it's not just because the Chiefs are still very present. It's because of the fact that even to Jim Harbaugh's own credit, at the NFL level, if you look at his college career, I'm not going to argue with that, because everywhere he goes program-wise, he does build it, but it takes time. Even in Michigan, it took 8-9 years for it to really become what it became. When it comes to the NFL side of things, it's the complete opposite, because if you look back at his 49ers days, he went to the NFC Championship the first 3 years of, if I'm not mistaken, the first 3 years of his coaching career at San Francisco. And that's because that team was ready-made. They just needed a coach like him. But what Jim Harbaugh does is he wears out his welcome. And that is what I think is going to happen, because according to what we saw, the reports we had as to why the Spanos family wasn't initially going to sign Jim Harbaugh is because, 1, they like to be cheap at head coach. They like to have control of head coach. And 3, they were nervous about Jim Harbaugh's personality being too big for the room. So that is something that we're going to have to pay attention to. I know Jim Harbaugh is one of my favorite coaches. I think he's like the Larry Brown of NFL of football coaches. I'm saying his versatility, the way that he can win at all stages.
Let me say why I say yikes, because I have nightmares of the 2004 NBA Finals when Ben Wallace and Hamilton put the and the Pistons and Rasheed Wallace put the Pistons put the brakes on my Lakers with Karl Malone and Gary Payton, and I think that's that's probably a good comparison, man, because Larry Brown would kind of do the same thing. He would kind of wear out his welcome where he would go, and he would,
Oh yeah,
you know, he was a defensive team mastermind, and Jim Harbaugh kind of. I see where you're going with that. They kind of have this like solid mystique around them.
Right,
and
and
that's just a little cringe for me. I think after the draft, he made everybody say, "Who's got it better than us? Nobody." And there's like, I don't know.
For he's a jolly good fellow. For he's
Chargers country. Let's shot.
But Clint, you are the resident Niners naysayer, so I'll have what he's having. And we're talking about Fred Warner, who says not fully over it for sure. Talking about the Super Bowl loss. That one's going to sting for a long time. I'm not even over the first one, so I'm sure the last one that was like 3 months ago, I'm still not over it. Those things stay with you. It's not a matter of if, in my mind. It's a matter of when we go win one. Right, Clint?
Not so much, Fred. You guys, if you know me, you know my thoughts on Super Bowl losers and the idea of ever getting back to one. Now, the 49ers, I'll be darned. Not only did they lose one in 2012 and got back to one in 2019, they got back to one again here in 2023. This is a real team, a real organization that is really building. But man, I just don't know. I don't know. I'm going to have to see it. You're going to have to show me. You're going to have to get in there and beat the Chiefs in a Super Bowl or someone in a Super Bowl. Now, that's not to say this is impossible. We've seen one-offs all over the 2020s. We saw the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a wild card team with 43-year-old Tom Brady win a Super Bowl. We even saw the LA Rams in 2021 win one. And who will ever remember that team? God, how about the 2016 Eagles? Got to be one of the worst, most forgettable Super Bowl champions in recent memory. But I think that I'm just going to go with the old cliche of Super Bowl loss hangover. Gosh, think about those 2015 Carolina Panthers, 15-1 NFL MVP Cam Newton, never heard from again. You either beat Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, you do it the right way, or you're never heard from again. I'll say no Super Bowls for Kittle, for Fred Warner, for Brock Purdy, and the rest of the Niners. I'm going to go ahead and say they don't make it in 2024/5.
Yeah, if they don't get it done this year, if they don't at least go to the Super Bowl this year, I think you're going to see some major changes with the Niners. Probably not with the coaching staff, because I think Shanahan's a great coach and they believe in him. But look, they're already having trouble with the Ayuk situation. You got Debo, McCaffrey, his contract is old, and he's probably going to want to get paid before his time runs out. Running back years are like doggy years in the league. Brock Purdy, he's going to want to get paid soon. Kittle is, his contract is going to be interesting. Trent Williams, he's getting older. Man, it's a lot of pieces on that 49ers team. And I think you could see probably some desperation from the Niners this year. So I can see them coming out like smoking hot, but then really slowing down, because that team, they always have a lot of injury issues. Those physical teams like the Niners, Ravens, they always have a lot of those issues. So I don't know, man. I'm not sure where Fred Warner is smoking, but like the graphic said, I'll have what he's having.
Real quick, any predictions for this Saturday for the June 1st cuts? Anybody got any names they want to throw out? I know Lance talked about Godwin being a possibility.
Chris Godwin.
Yeah, last week. What do you guys think? Who do you think will be cut June 1st? Around the NFL.
I've heard a lot of interesting names that are thrown out there that I'd be all over. I mean, Chris Godwin's one. If that does happen, I'd be interested in bringing him, especially with the unsure situation going on with Rashee Rice. But I haven't heard many of the other names that really sound interesting.
Yeah, like I said before we started the show, I wanted to bring up, I'm at peace where the Chiefs are right now. I mean, we all are. As Brian said, this is a dynasty. We're all happy about it. But if there's any negative at all, come this Friday, it'll be 2 months since Rashee Rice's car wreck in Texas. And I need, for my own personal sanity, because I have a beat, I need to know, we all need to know what's going to happen with Rashee Rice. So I'm hoping Roger Goodell can expedite the situation and put the suspension down soon, because I think the longer this drags out, if this drags out into the summertime, if we're sitting there in training camp late July and we're all up at training camp watching the Chiefs practice and there's still no word, that's kind of scary, because the unknown is what we fear right now. I don't want to wait till Labor Day, 3 days before the home opener, and have the Rashee Rice suspension come down from Roger Goodell. What do you think, Lance? Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, that's something I obviously would love to see happen. I just don't think it's going to happen. I think what's going to happen is it's going to be treated a lot like we've seen in the past, where it's week 3 and all of a sudden we get the hammer and we find out that Rashee's going to be out for 6 to 8 weeks or longer. I don't share the sentiment of our beloved friend Baldy. When he was on the show last week, he said he thinks he's going to miss the entire season. I don't share that. I don't think that's going to be the case. But I do believe that we're gonna see Rashee out for at least a month and a half. And I don't think that we're going to hear about that, the severity of it before the season starts. I think that you're going to hear it at a random time in that first 2 to 3 week window. For some reason, that just sounds more Goodell-ish than something that's actually logical, where it's, hey, before the season starts, let's get this out of the way. Let's let the Chiefs know where they're at with their young receiver. No, he likes to do things at a very random occurrence, and I think that's actually what's going to probably take place, and it's going to sting because it's going to come out of nowhere when the Chiefs do the opposite of what our guy Michael Robinson said they were going to do, and then it's going to be, damn, man, they're starting off hot, and then this happens. It's going to be one of those things, in my opinion. That's just an early prediction, though.
Yeah, we're excited to hear something on the Rashee Rice situation whenever that is to come down. But Brian is excited about his favorite segment, Chief Comparisons.
Would you rather?
Hey!
Oh, see, I was running late and things were happening and guests were popping in, and it says Tyron Smith instead of Tyron Matthew. So when you do things last minute, children, I did that on purpose to teach the children that are watching this a lesson to not procrasterize. Don't do things last minute. Do it in advance and you get the right name on the graphic. But
where's Leon Sandcastle at?
Eric Blueberry.
Tyron Smith versus Eric Blueberry versus Leon Sandcastle.
Give me the honey badger.
This is really a tough one, to be honest with you, because Tyron Matthew provided an attitude for the defense that we did not have in 2018. Look where the defense was in 2018, man. It was one of the worst in the league.
Yes.
And what Brett Veach did in that offseason by getting him and Frank Clark, and plus the advancement of Chris Jones, him moving into more of a leadership role and becoming a superstar. Man, he was really kind of the glue to that defense, to be honest with you. He set the tone, and he was a leader of that group. But, man, Eric Berry provided something special. That man was elite in so many different things. He was one of the fastest guys on the team. He was one of the best athletes on the team. He was one of the best tacklers on the team. He could do it all, man. He was a playmaker to the maximum when he was
remember
healthy.
Antonio Gates eating his lunch.
I remember Antonio Gates eating everybody's lunch.
In 2018? You talking about then? Or are you talking about earlier in his career?
He played like 2 more snaps after 2016 , so.
Yeah, well.
I like the idea of Eric Berry.
I love the idea of it.
I was getting Troy Polamalu and Ed Reed. Instead, I got some guy who's injured all the time, doesn't make a lot of plays outside of 2016.
Yeah, I'm not an Eric Berry guy. He wasn't my guy.
I gotta take Eric Berry, man. He's too spectacular of a safety and athlete when he was healthy. I gotta take EB.
How many Super Bowls does he have?
Okay, now what was that, Clint? Come on,
pardon that voice. I don't know.
You gotta warn me next time, Clint. You gotta warn me next time.
I don't know where that is. I'm sorry.
Bro, you can't burn that. You gotta let that evaporate. That just gotta go.
More Kadarius Toney and Nicole Hardman have more Super Bowls.
What the hell is happening to this show?
It's summertime, ladies and gentlemen. We're getting kind of carried away.
I'm taking Eric Berry.
The 2010 and 2016 Eric Berry, I'm taking too.
Well, I guess we can parse it out. If it's just 2016 Berry, if I get that his whole career, I'm taking that Eric Berry.
Doesn't this feel like such a context-heavy comparison? Because first of all, Tyron Smith, I apologize, was only here for 3 seasons, and in those 3 seasons, everything and Brian nailed it on the freaking head. That dude galvanized this defense and brought a culture to this defense they did not have before, at least for the last 10 to 15 years. He brought something to this defense that was so special. But here's the thing. It's like Matthew and Berry had their own level of toxicity with the fans, because when Eric Berry said, I don't have it in my spirit, I don't have it in my spirit. That was the final note of his Chiefs legacy. I think it left a bad taste in a lot of Chiefs fans' mouths. And then obviously Tyrann Mathieu just could not help himself but fight and argue with fans on Twitter constantly, calling them toxic when him and Anthony Hitchens were having that back and forth on Instagram. So with the negatives aside, if you're looking at it just from a perspective of success, it's clearly Tyrann Mathieu. And he was, like I said, he brought something to this team that was special. But Eric Berry as an individual, there's no debating who was the better player. When Eric Berry was healthy, he was clearly better than Tyrann Mathieu. That dude was a phenom talent. He was a phenom talent. The problem was he was hurt a lot. But when he was healthy, the man was an all-pro player. That 2016 season, he won multiple games against the Falcons and Panthers by himself. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. It sucks because I feel like Eric Berry's always a what if. What if he would have stayed healthy? If he'd have stayed healthy, Chiefs Hall of Famer without question, maybe an NFL Hall of Famer because he was on his way. But I just think because of Mathieu being attached to the success, Super Bowl success, all that stuff, you're going to have to probably go with Tyrann.
Yeah, the 2016 standalone was one of the more magical seasons I've seen from a defensive back, and that belongs to Eric Berry. So if you're just going on that alone, for sure, I think what Tyrann Mathieu, like you guys talked, the culture, what he brought to this defense, turning it around and then winning a Super Bowl, kind of relying on that, not relying on it, but it being a piece and not a reason that they lose, but a part of the reason why they win is a factor why I have to go with Tyrann Mathieu and why I named him Tyron Smith, because a lot of stuff was going on jumbled last minute. And my other one was Alex Smith, not Alex Mathieu. Alex Smith versus Joe Montana here. So
Joe Montana, what are we doing?
As a Chief, just the Chiefs' careers, I hear a lot of
this is Noah's attempt to. This is Noah just wanting to praise Joe Montana. I know what this is. This is because we had our back and forth. We had our back and forth about Trent Green and Joe Montana. I know what this is. But let's go. Let's go.
Things out here and do I hear a lot of people put Alex Smith above Joe Montana.
Joe Smith versus Alex Montana. Let's go.
It's Joe.
Montana. This definitely should have been. This definitely should have been Alex Smith versus Trent Green.
That'd be a good one for another time.
I'll take Montana just because we got to the AFC Championship game.
Yeah.
Even though, man, Alex Smith severely. I don't think he's underappreciated anymore. I think we get it. I think we all in Chiefs Kingdom, we give him his love and his
because it turned into overappreciated.
Oh, here you go. Everybody can't be Mahomes, man.
My least favorite era in Chiefs history.
Are you serious?
Listen,
the early Andy Reid era is your worst era.
The Alex Smith era was the
worst era. I said it was my least favorite.
Yes, it was the Blue Bowl era.
Yikes.
The blue ball era.
Hold on, Shane. I have to explain why it is my least favorite because this is blowing people's minds. It's my least favorite because I woke up. That's the time I woke up as a Chiefs fan. When I was little, I'm like, man, Steve Bono, Elvis Gerback, we're Super Bowl, baby. They're just the same as John Elway. You have
get out of here.
The quarterback, same thing. We're winning a Super Bowl. No, they
woke up.
Then
he woke up.
You're the same one got an Elvis Gerback jersey, but you woke up.
Noah is woke. It's official.
Hey, yes, I am. I am woke in Chiefs Kingdom here. And then it was Matt Castle, and I still, like, in a way, was like, no, there's a way. If we build a good team around, we can win. And then I was like, okay, I'm done with this. We've got Alex Smith here. You can't win a Super Bowl with the Alex Smith. So I was a bump on a log watching those, knowing there's no shot at a Super Bowl. So what am I watching? This stinks. I'm not having fun. Forget this era.
To where we are now.
I was a naive Chiefs fan during the Matt Castle era. Yes.
Noah, rewind the part. Please run that back with the Matt Castle. Please do that again.
Hey,
we built a good team. What?
To cover it all. That's
what I'm saying. I wasn't awake. I woke.
Hey, listen, damn it.
No.
To cover it all.
Shane's yelling. I love it. Go, Shane.
Steal a line from a good friend, Clay Windler. Every playoff loss was vital to where we stand today. And that goes back to the 90s, and that hurts because I was there. Every playoff loss led us to Patrick Mahomes, whether it was Alex Smith's futility, the Chiefs having no defense with Dick Vermeil, to Marty Schottenheimer starting the wrong quarterback. Every playoff loss has led to this dynasty, and every playoff loss is vital to where we stand now. Let's embrace this dynasty and love it because we're here, baby. We are on top of the freaking world, and we will be back here next Tuesday. We're going to keep going. We're going to keep bringing you guests. We're going to keep talking. I'm going to still keep working on Byron Pringle, Harvey Williams, others. So Noah's going to keep working. We're going to bring some guests this summer, and we're going to have a good time. You got anything you want to say in closing, brother Clint Schweitzer?
Oh, no, I was just going to say, Shane, our producers are telling us we are desperately out of time. Thank you both.
We'll
see you next week.